Welcome to the Market Rundown. I'm Matt Bennett, grain marketing consultant with the channel, and I'm here to talk about the report that we had today, the USDA January report, which is just filled with information, all kinds of stuff. And we're just going to touch on three different things. So my three takeaways from today were that, there was surprises like normal. And I'd say one of the bigger surprises had to do with how the balance sheet came out as far as corn was concerned. My second thing is that, whenever I look at world production, there were some adjustments that were made, but maybe could be further revised as we move forward. And then the third thing is that how did some of the changes that we saw made today, for instance, from a demand perspective, what are they going to do for us moving forward? Because I do think there's some implications and some conclusions you could draw. So, let's just start with what I was talking about with corn. I mean, let's be honest with it. The bean report actually didn't have a whole lot of new information. The carryout was, essentially where it was a year ago or last month, but as far as corn carry was concerned, it actually dropped 20 million bushels. The interesting thing is how they got there. And so demand was actually dropped 185 million bushels. So demand, corn exports have been horrific. We knew that demand was probably going to be adjusted lower. Very surprised that corn usage for ethanol was not adjusted lower, but regardless, demand was adjusted lower by 185. Whenever you look at production, though, production was also dropped by 200. And so actually the net result was 15 million bushels. I said 20 earlier, but 15 million bushels. And so, how did this happen? Well, interestingly, the yield went up, but at the same time, you saw harvested acres come down by over 1 million acres, which is an interesting thing in January. But regardless, we'll take it because, quite frankly, it gave a little bit of a boost to the corn market. We were seeing some double-digit gains. You move on to the world situation. We know that Argentina has been dry. We know that there's been, issues as far as, what kind of growing season they may have. And the reason why that's always important is because they produce so much and export so much of the world's soybean meal. It's typically over 50% of the world's soybean meal export market is pulled right out of Argentina. And so anytime you see dryness there, you see soybean meal rally, and then soybeans will rally along with it. And lots of times it'll pull corn along. That's kind of what we've seen in the last several weeks. And so, the USDA dropped them down to 45.5 million metric tons. One thing I encourage you to understand, though, is that they have Brazil at 153 million metric tons, a significant jump from last year and an all-time record if it comes to pass. And so total South American production is actually going to be up, whereas this market has rallied based upon Argentine production, which is dwarfed by Brazil. So, there's conclusions you could draw from that. And that is that if we do get a bullish run still, we may want to take advantage of it because it looks like world bean supply is going to be higher, as evidenced by the USDA today. Then the third thing is, whenever it comes to corn, we saw some demand revisions once again. And here's the thing that you have to understand is that once you lose some demand, whether it's the export program or whether it's corn usage for ethanol, which I believe will be revised in future reports. The problem is that it doesn't always just come back to you, the next year. And so most of your good economists, if you will, are probably going to keep your corn demand situation the same from this marketing year to next. If that's the case, then that means we're going to be using a couple 100 million bushels less corn than what we've thought before today. That could be an issue for us moving forward, especially if we produce a record-sized crop. So you definitely have to pay attention to what that might mean to you from a price perspective and forecast, and maybe lock in some worst-case scenarios. So once again, my three takeaways were, of course, a lot of changes for corn. And the net result wasn't anything major, but a lot of changes that we need to pay attention to whenever we look at the world situation. I definitely think that we could see further revisions, but the trend is still that soybean production is going to be higher year on year. And then the third thing is, of course, we've lost some demand for corn, and that's something that we want to keep an eye on moving forward. So once again, this has been the Market Rundown with Matt Bennett. If you have any questions, I feel free at the bottom of the video to go ahead and post those, or you can go to the channel website and sign up for the marketing newsletter, which we put out 3 times a week. And you can leave comments there or be able to reach me due to my contact info being posted there. So thank you for joining in.